just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Hopefully we have all these technical difficulties worked out. We'll see. Can you hear me? I'll make sure that I hold it close to my mouth. Thank you. My name is John DeGroot, and it's my pleasure and my honor, actually, to be the current leader of the Vets Club here in Oakmont. We've got a great program planned for you today, and I appreciate everybody coming in the midst of all this rain. We had certainly difficulties with our parade, but now we're on track, and it looks like we've got sound, so I'm feeling pretty good. From a veteran's perspective, this day is a pretty honored day for a variety of reasons. So I want to share with you a little brief bit of history in terms of how the dickens we ever got this Veterans Day going in our country. As you know, the Great World War I ended with an armistice agreement. And after the armistice agreement, which ceased fire, there was a decision made in terms of what do we call this going forward? The ceasefire took place on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. That's why we celebrate Veterans Day at this time, 11th hour, 11th day of the 11th month. And I think we did pretty good in terms of the start as far as the 11th hour. From the time it first began, the shots were fired in 1914. It was the official conclusion of that First World War. It signed in several months later was the Treaty of Versailles. And and that was a total of 65 million different Allied soldiers that joined the war. 65 million, and it was the First World War. Of those, a total of around 1.5 million died, with many more wounded, including about 117,000 Americans. After our troops had finally come home, in 1919, President Wilson at that time declared an official Armistice Day. On November 11th, 1921, an unidentified American was laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. Shortly thereafter, both in France at the Arc de Triomphe and in Great Britain, were also two unidentified soldiers laid to rest. In 1926, Congress passed the resolution that said that a recurring anniversary of November 11th should be commemorated, and that's how we ended up with Armistice Day. Then, in World War II, I'll just rip through these real fast because here are some doughboys in the First World War. The Second World War then occurred, as we all know. Typical soldiers in the First and the Second World War, followed by Korea. And also on this Armistice Day that then became Veterans Day is commemorated. Excuse me. Our traditions of Veterans Day have kind of been redone over the years. And it still includes a laying of the wreath at Arlington National Cemetery, at the unknown graves there in Arlington, and then parades and other types of organizations like us hold special commemorative events. Vietnam occurred. I'm a little bit more familiar with that than the earlier picture of the fellow that was dressed going out to battle. In fact, that was my unit, and one of the choppers in my unit I just showed you. Excuse me. Our call sign was a Razorback. Iraq occurred, and Afghanistan occurred. In each of those, we are remembering veterans. Some very important people put together this wall and hall of honor over here. Worked an awfully long time to do this. And I want to make some recognition to some folks that have contributed to this program immensely. So to this end, if you have not been yet into that Hall of Honor, I would encourage you to do so. There are pictures of lots of our vets that are in there, along with little bios in terms of who they were, where they were. So at this time, I would like to have a number of people stand that not just did this Hall of Honor, but really brought this program together today. So as I call your name, would you please stand up? John Adams, Dave Crockett, Ray Darwin, Karen DeGroot, Tom Fleming, Paul Gowans, Pat Hendricks, Ron Holliday, Michael Hudson, Dave Moore, Michael Murphy, Alan Scott, if he's here, and Diane Shoshnick. Diane was back there by the hall. These folks contributed a significant amount of time to this. Would you please give them a hand? Okay, everybody except Karen DeGroot, Diane, and Pat may sit down. Except Karen DeGroot, Pat Hendricks, and Diane. Where are you, Diane? Okay, she's way in the back. These three were the ones that really put this Hall of Honor together. And it was a major undertaking. So thank you very much. One of the things that the Vets Club has taken on itself this year is to become a sponsor of a newly formed organization here in Northern California called Honor Flight in the North Bay. Unfortunately, they couldn't put their display out because of the wind this morning that blew the tents that we did have up across the street. But they, three of their representatives are here. Someplace, would you stand? Way in the back. There you are, Honor Flight. And with that, I want to introduce our main speaker today, Colonel Misty Zelk. I have a few words to say before I turn the mic over. But there she is with her puppy, Campbell. There she is with Battle Rattle, not just all the decorations on her chest. Misty's a very, very interesting woman for a variety of reasons. I probably should have used a larger size font on these words, but it is what it is. Colonel Zelk comes from a military family. In fact, her both brother and dad were in the service, and she grew up as a Navy brat, moving a number of times across these United States. I say that because when she went to medical school, she went to medical school at the University of Arkansas. And my call sign when I was in this country was Razorback. And if you know and remember Frank Broyles from the University of Arkansas, really good football team, Razorback. So she is really a Razorback at heart. She joined the Army National Guard and served 2 tours in Iraq, both in Baghdad and in Balad. And then, interestingly, she transferred to the Air Force National Guard in 2005. That was after a chance meeting with some Air Force folks on a cleanup in the South following a hurricane, and a promise that they gave her a promotion. She, I think, was a major at the time in the Army, and the Air Force said, come on, you should be much more than a major. Of course, she retired as a full bird colonel. And that, of course, was about 15 years ago. And in the Air National Guard, she retired with the rank, as I said, as a full colonel. And then about 15 years ago, she fell in love with geriatrics, primarily because the loved ones in her life, she wanted to be able to treat and come and be good in terms of her treatment of the loved ones in her life. She's been the medical director and volunteer medical director since 2021 for the Best Defense Foundation, which is similar to the honor flights here in the North Bay. They take World War II, particularly vets, to battlefields they served in Europe, but they're adding to their venue in terms of not just Europe, but other places too. She's currently the medical director at Spring Lake Village. And last but not least, Misty is the proud recipient of Campbell. Who's here with her today up front, and like a perfect little service dog he is. There he is. Would you please join me in a warm Oakmont Vets Club welcome to Colonel Misty Zelk. Some water down there.
Thank you.
We want to make sure this thing works.
I got to get Campbell up there too.
I know why it's not. You're going to have to advance it right here.
I can do that. Thank you to the Oakmont Veterans Club for having me back to speak to you guys today. Today, we honor veterans. For some Americans, it's a holiday and 5 words. Thank you for your service. Then they go about their lives. But really, supporting veterans is a 365 job. Hard work, a lot of patience, and sometimes a thick skin. Just ask my family. I was naive when I deployed to Iraq. Sure, I made a will and made plans for my 2 daughters, and I had to contemplate my own death and what that would mean to my family. Then I went to war with an infantry unit, so rather than being safely ensconced in a combat support hospital, I was seeing the city of Baghdad. I was the sole physician for 800 infantrymen. I was also their ambulance service. If they were wounded on patrol, we jumped in the FLA, modified Jeep that was our ambulance, picked them up, treated them. If they needed higher level of care, took them to the hospital. If I could patch them up, they came back to the FOB, the Forward Operating Base. And that was going just fine until I got injured. And so in my 30s, I was suddenly grieving the loss of function, things that my body was never going to be able to do again. And so when I had left, I thought I would just come back to my life, pick up where I left off. I was wrong. Some of the happier moments in Iraq, and yes, I was a major, and a major for way too long in the Army, and the Air Force saw my potential. And then my medics, because I'm hanging out with a bunch of enlisted guys, said that this was a rite of passage. And in case you're wondering, that's the trash donkey. But I got up there. You know, mass media shows veterans as big, strong men, smiling, proud, invincible. The truth is, we're very ethnically and gender diverse. 41% of today's military. After combat, there's a whole different life. We have pain, we have anxiety trying to fit back in, coming home. And we try to hide that. We try to cope on our own, don't ask for help. We get pretty prickly, like this porcupine, irritable, angry. The last person in the world you want to have anything to do with is probably the person that needs you the most. So in short, if you know somebody like this, think about why and maybe what they've been through. And I always like to mention this because this is not what they show in the commercials with the proud, strong, standing military members. So my family stuck by me, but civilian medicine didn't know what the heck to do with me. And it got to the point that I truly believed that I was a burden and my family would be better off without me. But then I got help from the VA and other organizations like Wounded Warrior Project and Canine Companions. And so this is your great commercial here. If you are a veteran and you qualify for VA medical and you have not enrolled, what the heck are you waiting for? Sign up, get involved, get the help that you need. And if you don't need help, guess what? The more of us that enroll, the more services that are offered at the local VA. The VA is a numbers game. So the more of us that are there, the more we get. And they just added a new clinic to Santa Rosa within the last couple of years with increased services, meaning we don't have to trek down to San Francisco for more things. So I'm a very different person than that kid who went to Iraq. And the experience and the recovery have shaped me. I have very different priorities now. My war experience taught me to value my life and not be complacent. If I'm unhappy and miserable, I should make a change. When I started practicing medicine again, I found I had trouble connecting with the younger generation. For some, something as simple as a hangnail would just ruin their entire day. And I can tease them because I have a 21 and a 28-year-old, and I say this to them often. I found that I had trouble connecting. Why? Well, because our experiences were too different. That disconnect took the joy out of working for me. So I took a good look at work. And I found that I was happiest when I was walking into an exam room of an older patient. Our priorities were more in line. We both understood loss, disability. We had all faced our own mortality and at least had to think about it. So clearly there was a need, and clearly I needed to make a change. So I switched to geriatrics. It was the best thing I ever did. Best job satisfaction that I've had in almost 30 years of medicine. I currently serve as the medical director at Spring Lake, your neighbor, and I get to oversee the entire gamut from independent living, folks who don't need a lot of my help, to assisted living, to memory care, to skilled nursing, and the rehab there. You might unfortunately have to come visit me someday, but I'll be there because I love my job. In addition to the admin duties, I see patients. I always tell my patients that the ability to be self-employed because of my benefits of being a disabled veteran almost make up for being shot at. It doesn't feel like work when you get to do things the way you believe they should be done. It's immensely satisfying to be there for people in the hardest stage of life, using my unique perspective to be their metaphorical battle buddy to help and support. And then in 2021, I discovered the Best Foundation, Best Defense Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization that has two missions. First, it returns veterans to their battlefields. And then second, it supports special operators who are transitioning to civilian life. When I found them, they relied on local medical services for their battlefield return programs. But I knew there was a better way. I had practiced medicine in a field, and I knew how to carry and what to carry for emergencies. So I volunteered to be their medical director. I researched traveling with people that were in their 90s and hundreds. Spoiler alert, there is zero research. So we said, well, we need to write the book. So we wrote protocols and standards. I recruited a whole medical team of volunteers, nurses, physicians, paramedics. Then finally, we solicited donations from healthcare technology companies, and we were able to outfit the team with everything they needed to be prepared. And so since the medical team's inception, we have prepared and carried everything we needed for something as simple as a skin tear to as complicated as a heart attack. And just like a scene from the movies, the heart attack occurred on the bus in the middle of nowhere. But my team got that IV started. We gave medication. We were able to do the appropriate monitoring. I asked the bus driver to drive really, really fast. And in the 20 minutes it took for us to get to the emergency room, we resolved that chest pain. That veteran is alive, enjoying life, and still living independently today. So if we ever needed a story to validate why we're important, I can't think of a better one. I've been given so much in return for my time and my expertise with the Best Defense Foundation. I've befriended World War II veterans. I've danced with them. Great music from the 40s. Stepped on toes maybe a couple of times. I've held their hands. I've cried with them. I've laughed with them. I've seen World War II through their eyes, and it's so much more real than what I read in the history books. I've listened to their stories, and they've opened up to me because I understand. It's another gift that I earned on the streets of Baghdad. So I've described what that feels like, but it never really quite does it justice. So I want to show you what a typical program looks like for us. A little background for the video that we're trying to play. One of our crown jewel programs is Normandy D-Day ceremonies every year. And this year was the 80th anniversary. It's insane. When they did the 75th, they thought that would be the last big one where veterans would show up. They were wrong. We brought 47 veterans, and all told, different organizations, about 200 showed up. I know, it's incredible. But we take them free of charge. Each veteran has a caregiver assigned to them to take care of their needs, whether that's jockeying their luggage around or helping find the nearest restroom, whatever it is. We have admin and logistics folks that try to smooth out the wrinkles. And then, of course, there's the medical team. I brought 13 with me this year. And so we take them, we have volunteer researchers who look into their time of service. We try to identify to the closest of our abilities where they fought or served, and return them to that space. And there's nothing like going with a veteran and they get that faraway look in their eyes when they see the landmarks and things shift into focus and they're right back where they were. And it's a very profound and humbling experience to be there with them when that happens. It's a profound experience to watch the country welcome them back, tell them thank you, grown adults crying. It impacts them in a way you cannot imagine. They talk about stories that they haven't told before. They really open up, talk with their peers, talk with the volunteers. We sing along to the 40s music on the bus. They tell their stories.
Oh, this brings back some really quite memories out there.
At the Best Defense Foundation, we recognize the deep longing with our veterans to return to the places where they fought and to honor the comrades they lost.
Charge! You're gonna see something like you've never seen before. Boom, boom, boom. Are you having any fun? What you getting out of living? It's wonderful. You're old and gray. Still okay. Have a little fun. Jingle a friend. I'm the luckiest man in the world. What good is what you got if you're not having any fun?
Let me back up just a little bit.
Did they across the ocean into France? I have not been back to Normandy.
We're getting ready to embark on this incredible journey across the Atlantic to land in Normandy, France, thanks to Delta Airlines and Michelin.
You were barely out of high school when you were called to join a global fight against tyranny. You left your cities, small towns, not knowing if you would ever see home again. Without your courage, this world would be a vastly different world.
Amen. And grace, how sweet the sound that saved our soldier like me.
Welcome to Normandy. You guys are back, some of you for the first time.
As I look at these French people here, it brings memories back to 79 years ago. This is my first trip back here.
I could not imagine that many people coming out to welcome us.
But now I see.
For the most part, we were children of the 20s, citizen soldiers, draftees, and volunteers. We did not experience the carefree days of childhood. These men were as tough as the times in which we were raised and engaged the Germans in mortal combat. For a brief moment in history, these men held our nation's destiny in their hands. We did not fail. It was a hell that had to be endured, and we endured it. But the cost of victory was high.
They were ordinary soldiers, yet they were exceptional in every way. It is in this cemetery that we bear witness to the daunting threats to freedom, the costs required to remain free.
21,000 young German soldiers are buried here. 80% were just 20 years old. What a strong, moving symbol for you to be here today.
We lost a lot of men, and they lost a lot of men. We were mostly 18, 19, and I had a great hatred for them. Somehow, a ceremony like this helped to shake that hatred. Well, the majority of them were just simple people, just the same as we were.
You came from another country to liberate the French people, and we will never forget that.
On this day, 79 years ago, young American soldiers landed on French soil to fight for us and giving their life for our freedom.
For us, the youngsters, this day will remain in our memories and will guide us in the building of our futures.
Right by where it started.
79 years ago, this very beach was a theater of humanity's determination.
Carry all our scars, but not in vain.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 79 years ago and coming back here and seeing this place? Put your mind to the fact that we were young guys. I was 19 at the time, and most of us, we were not scared. Really, I wasn't.
And as soon as I got on that beach, I saw all these ships out there. In my mind, all these soldiers running in off of that beach.
Can get it out this picture in my mind. Hey, now that hope has from the days we one by one spent living that enemy. May we finally see what was right here all along. Oh.
Today, you have an amazing opportunity to ask questions of the men and women who laid their lives on the line to ensure your freedom and to put an end to tyranny. If you ask any of the veterans here today, if they do it again, every one of the veterans would give you a resounding yes and tell you you were all worth it.
You are our heroes, and we have to say thank you for your service.
That's why you have this foundation here to take care of you and remember your stories.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here, because I want to assure you
Yeah.
that what you did
Yeah.
79 years ago will not be forgotten.
That's marvelous, you know.
It's really a privilege to have some younger people around. It kind of inspires me to keep on going.
The people of France really set an example about how important this is. So this will go on forever. Respect, honor, thanks are attributes that were evident all week. Americans need to continue to follow that example.
All the years that are gone by, I still think about them.
You know, they may have been taken far too soon, but I'm so glad that you're keeping their memories alive.
Yeah.
And now it's my turn.
Okay.
As I look out over these amazing veterans and those who have stepped up to care for them, I look out with hope, and I, along with my team, will continue to ensure that your stories and your memories will never be silent.
To return after coming here as a boy, 18 years old, is one of the greatest experiences that I will perhaps have in my lifetime. God bless you all. God bless you all.
You can see why I say it's worth it. In the near future, we'll start returns to Vietnam. It's going to look very different, not going to be parades or ceremonies. But for that program, I hope for a lot of healing. And my personal wish is that someday I can return to Baghdad and see that city in peace. So that's my story. And I'm fortunate to be able to stand here today and share it with you. I want to leave each of you with a challenge. If you know a veteran that's prickly and angry, do something meaningful. Show them that you care. Say more than 5 words and show your support is more than superficial. If you're a veteran, this is officially your sign to get help if needed or enroll in the VA. Thank you all so much.
Misty and Campbell, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking time out, sharing that wonderful story with us, and just being the person whom you are. Seeing that these were World War II vets that were honored in this particular video brings to mind that we have a couple of World War II vets here in the audience. One of them is way over here. and the other one is just in back of it. The Vets Club here has something to give you. You already have one, but now you have another one. You're welcome. Welcome home.
Can I just say that my dad, Bob Anderson, was a reconnaissance pilot during World War II in the Battle of the Bulge.
And who do we have here? Wendell? There you go, guy. Wendell Freeman? How old are you, Wendell? How old are you?
What's that? Tell everybody how old you are.
102, 102. That's terrific. What almost a wonderful note to end on. A couple of other things besides getting through the technical difficulties that we've had. Hopefully the next time we'll plan for them a little bit better. Kind of in conclusion, before we have our final medley, which I've forgotten about, okay? One of the things we want to do is recognize each of the service members here. And there's an Armed Forces medley that can be played. And when you hear your branch of the service called, would you please stand up and remain standing until the next service is called. So, Maestro, the United States Army. Come on, all Army guys, stand up. And now, the United States Marine Corps. Oh, come on. All right, Dave. And now we'll try the Air Force. And United States Coast Guard. All right, Tom. Thank you very much. Now, if you will please join me in a moment of silence. We've had a couple of our vets pass this past year, and I would have a moment of silence and remembrance for both Hal Estes and to Ken Philo. Thank you. Today, we honor our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their all and their best when they were called to serve and protect our country. We pray that they are blessed for their unselfish service and the continual struggle for preserving our freedoms and our country's heritage for every one of us here today and those not even here today. Bless them abundantly for the hardships that they faced, for the sacrifices that they made, and for their many different contributions to our victory over tyranny and oppression. We respect them, we thank them, and we honor them. We're all very, very proud of them. We pray the special people, our veterans, are watched over and are blessed with peace and happiness. And with those final words, I'm going to ask, join us, let us know who you are. We'd love to have you in this ensuing year. Last, across the street at Oakmont Gardens, they're hosting a barbecue for veterans, their friends, spouses, kids. Vets are free, and it's $10 for anybody else. So that's what goes next. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate every one of you being here. What? Say that again? What? What about them? Are we having them at the doors? Are they ready to go? Stars for Veterans. One of the other things that this Vets Club did this year was to give a little semblance of important contributions that we've all made. And you'll get that when you leave the auditorium from our volunteers who will be passing out those Stars for Veterans. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it 100%. Thank you for coming.